Hey everyone, welcome to this special call we have with Carol Peringer, who is one of our senior program leaders at Be More You. And Carol has trained and mentored, I think, every one of our program leaders at Be More You. And I know she's made an incredible difference in my life, and I've benefited hugely from having her as a program leader for the wall course that I took many, many years ago, as well as mentoring me in terms of leading these programs and doing this work. So Carol, thank you so much for being with us here today. And one of the things I want to ask you, first of all, is Carol has been leading the wall for many, many years, has led thousands of people through this process. And Carol, I'm wondering if you can summarize in a few sentences some of the value that you've seen people walk away with after doing the wall program.
Wow. Yeah, so since 1986, I've been doing it for a long time. Boy, there are so many things. I'll start with the importance of focusing on self. I mean, the purpose of the wall is to enhance my relationship with myself. And I know when I first heard that, I thought, I don't even know what that means. I don't think it's possible to do that. I am who I am, right? And I kind of thought that life was about, going with the flow, rolling with the punches, and that's what life was about. And so I think one of the biggest takeaways for people from the program is to understand that those are important ideas and positions to hold at different times in life, that I really do have choice about how I run my life, how I run my brain, how I operate, that I can, when I really take the time, take a few days out of my busy life to focus just on me, just on my relationship with me, and get some real clarity about what I want in my life. I mean, I always say this in programs, I had a lot of clarity about what I didn't want, but to really take the time to identify what I did want was really important. And I think the clearer I am about what I want, the greater the chances I'll achieve what I want. So I spent a lot of time personally as a participant getting clear about what I wanted. And I know that's a big takeaway for a lot of folks. And that I get to do that. I get to want something. I get to start to build a vision of what I want in my life. And over again, I have heard from people who left the wall, and then I see them years later, that they're just amazed at how that works. That when I do paint a clear picture of what I want, that stuff starts to show up in my life. So I think that's a big piece. Really understanding where my strengths are and how I can build on those strengths, and where my challenges are. And looking at that from a compassionate place, right? Not to make myself wrong because I'm not good at everything, but to understand that I have strengths that are useful and I have challenges that I can learn to work with and be effective no matter what those challenges are. Some of the big value comes for people in the name of the course, the wall. I know lots of people get to a point where they have some clarity about what they want, but they keep sabotaging themselves, or life seems to keep sabotaging them and getting in the way of them having what they want. And generally there's something going on internally in our way we look at the world, in the stories we make up based on our history, that says, well, I can't go beyond this point. And people at the wall really do understand that they can go beyond that point. They see the value, they get a glimpse of what's on the other side of those walls. And that's pretty inspiring and motivating for people. Yeah, I mean, I think those are really important pieces, the part about knowing myself at a deeper level. And I think that knowing myself at a deeper level is an ongoing life process. Right. That I know as much as I know, like you took the courses so long ago, and as did I, but every time I came back and plugged in again, I was in a new place in my life, and could then kind of set the trajectory from that point forward. Yeah, important work.
I remember my experience of it being that there was no other place in the world that I would learn these things about myself in the way that I learned the things about myself in quite a tight time frame.
Yeah.
A weekend, a long weekend worth of work.
Yeah.
And I love the word trajectory, but I literally changed the trajectory of my life by doing that inward work. And I don't know, this story, but I read every book possible. I turned over, looked under every rock, turned over every page to try and find the answers to the questions that I didn't even know I had until I did the wall. And it was epic. And I love that you even pointed out the name of it, The Wall, is, for some people it's kind of intimidating, and it's this really interesting process of being loved up and encircled and, safe to the very, very bottom of my toes, at the same time as it being risky and challenging and intense in a deep emotional way. So it's really all that and all in a weekend. So I appreciate you bringing up the name.
Sure. Two things to say about that. One is, it's not a huge chunk of time, but I don't know, for most people don't take that kind of time. They don't take 3 days to focus in an environment where they are supported to really honestly look at what's going on, try out some tools that can help them move in a different direction in their lives. I mean, who does that? I've read every self-help book in the world as well. And, I would read it and underline things. It'd be interesting, but then the book would end up on the shelf. And an experiential event like The Wall, I think it locks in the learning. There's the possibility of including more insight from the program itself, from other participants. And that's the other thing I wanted to say, that there is something really powerful in the group process. I mean, one of my big takeaways from The Wall, and I've heard this from hundreds and hundreds of people, probably thousands, as you said, is understanding that all of the stuff that went on in my internal world that I thought was pretty much unique to me, I found out that I walk the world with people who have the same kind of issues, the same kind of triumphs, and the same kind of challenges. And knowing that I am on this planet with other people that I have more in common with than I ever believed I would, that's pivotal for a lot of human beings. And something different than you get in a one-on-one coaching session or in a therapeutic session with just you and somebody you're working with. It's amazing to me how much work can be accomplished in the presence of other people. Yeah.
It's not even really something that we talk about as one of the main reasons that people would take this program, but the aftermath of it is that we understand each other at a core level. And so all of these differences that humans have seem to dissolve through the processes that we work through in the weekend. And, there's something so beautiful about just being, humanity in all its connections, and with not the differences siloing us that we usually walk around in the world with. There's a lot of joy in that experience alone.
Yeah. And a lot of practical help in that too, because I understand that the people that I deal with every day, whether I'm with my family or my friends or in a work environment, that they are more like me than I ever knew before I took these programs.
Right.
And it helps me be more effective in my relationships, that's for sure.
Yeah, I remember actually the first time I took The Wall, I came out of it and people were talking about how different I seemed. And I felt like exactly the same person, but something had altered, and other people noticed it, even though it wasn't as clear to me exactly what that was. But one of the things we do talk about at Be More You is 3 layers of purpose. We talk about situational purpose in the More course, the first program, and we talk about daily purpose in The Wall, or the second program, first course of the Purpose Project. So can you talk a little bit about daily purpose, Carol, and how that how that is covered in the wall and how it impacts people in their lives. Knowing
Boy, I didn't mention it when I was answering your first question, but I think really probably for most humans, that's the biggest takeaway, is because purpose has to do with understanding the driving needs that I have as a human being. We all have them. Everybody's got them. There are needs that all humans have in common, but we are unique expressions of humanity, each one of us, and we're wired differently. So to understand that I'm the kind of person who requires particular kinds of experiences. I mean, for me, one of them is recognition. I mean, I am a person who is driven to create the experience of recognition, and that's tied in with making a contribution and feeling like I've made a difference in the world. But I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know that that was true about me. And once I started recognizing that, I could look back at my life and see all of the times when I'd messed up, like when things didn't work. I was really attempting to get that need met in a pretty destructive way. And it was pivotal, and that is pivotal for most people that go to the wall, understanding what drives me. And again, it's different for everybody. And how can I, since we are need meeting creatures, we're in the process of getting our needs met every day, all the time. So how can I constructively set up strategies to get those needs met in ways that work and that help me in my life and that are more fulfilling? I mean, understanding what my daily purpose is, which has to do, again, with the choices and decisions I make every day based on knowing what my needs are, helps to create a more fulfilling experience of today and tomorrow and the day after that and on and on. That's really powerful work. And I don't know any place else that does that kind of work, that helps people to the degree that we do with that kind of self-knowledge and self-understanding. And knowing that it's not that I have to change that. Once I recognize that, I don't have to change that. It wouldn't work to pretend like I'm not the kind of person who has a need for whatever. It doesn't work to do that. So how can I embrace that and find some really juicy, constructive ways? And man, the experience of life after that is quite different.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, this story, Carol, that when I first did the programs, I wasn't really looking at being more me. I was trying to find somebody else's life to really master. And, you know, that was a huge concept for me, is to just really look at my own life and look at my own internal processes and my own internal needs rather than everybody else's. And that was massive. Mm-hmm. And again, you said it earlier, you know, I don't know other places that really do a lot of that. You know, it's really about, everybody's saying, you know, don't make it all about you. But here we're saying, actually, make it all about you. It's your life. And so be more you.
An additional benefit for me and for people that take this course is understanding that once I know what my driving needs are, it helps me make decisions in my life. It helps me whenever I'm at a crossroads, I can pull out my driving needs and say, okay, how many strategies can I easily find to get my needs met in this particular job or that particular job if I'm making a decision? I mean, whether it's personal or professional, you know, how can I get my needs met in these places? Because I'm going to have to do it. And if I don't do it consciously, that's when we tend to go unconscious and we find destructive ways to have those experiences. And then we pay the prices and hopefully learn the lessons. But I know there's an easier way. There's an easier way. And that's doing the work to identify those things and consciously choose how I'm going to create that experience, whatever it is.
And, you know, I think it's in this day and age, a lot of people are talking about purpose out there. And mm-hmm. I really love it that it's broken down in a way that there are different layers of purpose. And I think a lot of people are waiting to start their life before they know their purpose. Right. And, you know, this is an important way and a much simpler way, I think, to really live a life of purpose on a daily basis, on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, by knowing these things about ourselves.
And I think it's important not just for us personally, but I think the world needs what we have. I really believe that. I strongly believe that each of us brings something unique to the table. And the more, I mean, what we do in these courses, and particularly at the Wall, is help people understand what their unique take is on being human, and how can I How can I be more of who I am? And when I am more of who I am, things change, not only in my life, but in the life of the people around me. It's important. Feels
Yeah, they're
important.
truly, we've seen the ripple effect. I
No kidding.
easily, hundreds of times have I seen the ripple effect
Yeah.
of people making changes just by knowing these key critical things.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it earlier about auditing, and the beauty of these programs is that they're here for people to do at different phases in their lives. And I was talking with our CEO, Darren Collias. He and I actually both took these programs when we were in our 20s. He was a young dad, and I was in the middle of an eating disorder at the time, just really trying to claw my way out of, that box.
Mm-hmm.
And then we both took the courses later on in life. After we put these tools to work and actually done some things, I made my way through my eating disorder pretty quickly, actually, after really knowing a lot more about myself and trying to work on my own life rather than someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been fascinating for us to look at the differences in the programs when we were younger people, and then when we had different things to work on in life. So can you talk a little bit about auditing and some of the value that you've seen for people who have come back to do the programs again?
Yeah, well, I could talk about that for a long time. Part of the reason is we've been doing these courses for so long that what you just described happens a lot. People come through when they're young and then reach a point in their life where it's time to kind of refocus. I think that these courses work at whatever level people enter, right? Whether it's as a young parent trying to figure out how to navigate that. I mean, when I first went through, I was newly divorced and trying to figure out how to navigate being a parent and not wanting to run over my ex with a truck. Could have gotten in trouble that way. Decided not to do that.
Destructive.
Yeah. And then like you said, I used the tools. Things got better, considerably better in many areas of my life. But I certainly understand the benefit, of plugging back in, because the concepts and the tools and the work, it's easy to mold whatever work you do to whatever your current circumstances are, and that's what we have you do. So when my nest became empty, right, and my kids left, really re-looking at these tools and kind of recalibrating myself was really important.
Right.
I've had lots of people who have come through when they're facing retirement. Same thing, right? It's a new life challenge. And whether it's facing a challenge or just wanting to grow, for a lot of people, that lifelong learning thing, that longing to always be in the process of looking and learning and asking myself questions and creating answers for myself is a juicy part of being human and being alive. So I don't think there's ever a bad time. And I can't tell you how many people will come and take and audit the course again and say, I don't think we did this in my course. I'm like, yeah, we did. I know, because you forget, right? You take whatever nuggets really fit for you at that time. And then when you come back, there's other stuff and you go, wow, that's really important for me in my life right now. I think it's a really juicy thing. And I think it's one of the best things about our business is that you can always come back and retake the courses. Great benefit. And most people that, in fact, I don't know a person who hasn't come back and audited who hasn't said, man, I'm so glad I did that. So glad.
Yeah, it at any time. I know for me, I can always take something to the next level if I'm focusing on one area of my life. And, usually for me, it's the one that I would like to up the most. If everything else is ticking along pretty well and there's something that I really want to work on, that's a key place to just take it to the next level. And, everything else seems to inch up and
no kidding. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's about intention. If I say my intention now in my life is to relook at who I am and how I operate and what I want and what my vision for the future is, then my energy becomes more focused on that. And things, speed up isn't the right word. Things become more focused, more in focus. Yeah. And the ride, the journey then becomes more, I'm more awake and alive. As I walk through the rest of my life after that.
You use the word recalibrate, which I love. It is, you know, about an opportunity to recalibrate on any different
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
And thanks for mentioning that, because we do have a program coming up, and it's going to be with my beautiful friend Carol Peringer. Will be
Yeah.
leading it.
Yay.
And
Yay.
so we do have a special coaching offer with our head coach. I mentioned my friend Darren Collius. Will be offering a special coaching package for anyone who signs up for the wall by this Wednesday. So there'll be links below. You can email another dear friend of mine, Michelle Harcourt at bemoreU.life, for details on this. And I can't say enough about this program, obviously, about the value of it. You know, so much so that a team of friends of mine and I found it, you know, important enough to team together and take this company to the next level. So I really appreciate, Carol, you coming on and talking about the work that I know you've dedicated your life to. And it's been you've made so many changes in the world as a result of the work that you do, and you've led people to do that kind of work in their own lives so that they can go out and make that ripple effect in their families, their friends, and in their workplaces. It starts with something personal, and it definitely moves outwards. So I just want to conclude this by asking if there's anything else you'd like to add, just to pass on to people out there who hopefully you'll be meeting in the future. And yeah.
Two things. One is, I'm so delighted that you guys have added the coaching element to the process. Because having a well-trained coach who knows this stuff in and out, inside and out, to kind of help me navigate my life, you know, for a while after I first get out of these programs, is just so delicious. What a great opportunity for people. I'm delighted that that's present for people now. The other thing I want to say is, come do the wall in September in Seattle. I love what I do. I'm humbled and honored that I still get to do it. And I'll give it all I got. It's what I always do. It's all I know how to do.
You always do
that.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think I've ever seen you leave anything on the floor. That's for sure. And I've been in a lot of wall rooms with you. So
yeah. Love to see everybody.
Thanks again for joining us here, Carol. And thanks to all of you for joining us here. And hopefully we'll see you on the different community forums that we have. And more than anything, hopefully we'll see you live and in person at some of our socials and in some of our program rooms. So thank you for being here. And thanks again to you, Carol, as well.
You're welcome.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.